Welcome to the weekly update of Israel and Christians today, Thursday, the 3rd of July, 2025. The future of Judea and Samaria is now at stake. Israel and the United States cooperated in recent months to prepare and carry out a truly unprecedented operation that obliterated the nuclear program of the Iranian revolutionary regime. According to the Pentagon, Israel's Operation Rising Lion and the US attack on 3 major Iranian nuclear installations have set back the Iranian program to develop a nuclear weapon by as much as 2 years. Now the focus of discussions shifts to resolution of the conflict in Gaza and the future of Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank. The question now is whether this close Israeli-US cooperation will continue. Trump and Netanyahu are playing a delicate cat-and-mouse game in the lead-up to Netanyahu's planned visit to Washington next week. Trump is pressuring Israel to end the war in Gaza and to accept some kind of Palestinian state. Israel is still highly dependent on the United States for weapons as well as financial and political support. The question is how far Netanyahu will be willing to bend to meet Trump's demands. Although the interests of Trump and Netanyahu are aligned, they are far from identical. Trump is pursuing a transactional vision of the Middle East based on deals he is negotiating with the Sunni Arab states, in which the latter agree to accept Israel's existence and normalize relations with Israel, also, by the way, entering into large agreements with the United States. He is also facing domestic interest in seeing an end to the war in Gaza. While the administration supports eradication of Hamas, there's a lot of pressure on Trump in the United States to finalize a deal that brings an end to the Gaza conflict. Furthermore, Trump has extensive personal interests in the Gulf states that seem to be influencing his decision-making as president. Netanyahu, on the other hand, has as his foremost interest securing the long-term security of the Jewish state of Israel. That security is dependent on 3 factors: eradication of Hamas and all other radical Islamist entities that are bent on killing Jews, continued sovereignty over the unified city of Jerusalem, and retaining ultimate control of the West Bank, the strategic mountains of Judea and Samaria, and the Jordan Valley. Netanyahu and the Israeli government are also committed to getting all the hostages home from Gaza. This aim is in tension with the aim of eradicating Hamas. On a visit to the southern city of Ashkelon on Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that the Hamas terror group would be eliminated from the Gaza Strip. There will be no more Hamas. It's over, he said. We will free all of our hostages and we will eliminate Hamas down to its very foundations. While noting that some may say the objectives sound contradictory, destroying Hamas and releasing the hostages, Netanyahu said they fit together. Hamas, however, continues to insist that it will release hostages only if Israel commits to ending the war without fully eradicating Hamas. Eradication of Hamas seems to be a common interest not only for Israel and the US, but also of the Sunni states in the region, such as Saudi Arabia. A recent report suggests that Saudi Arabia even is making the destruction of Hamas a condition of entering into an Abraham Accord with Israel. However, Jerusalem and the West Bank remain thorny issues. Reports suggest that Trump is pressuring Israel to accept Arab post-war control over the Gaza Strip and a Palestinian state in the West Bank, albeit possibly subject to conditions such as the reform of the Palestinian Authority. Israel is unlikely to agree to this. The overwhelming majority of Israelis believe that since the 7th of October 2023, a Palestinian state in any shape or form represents an existential threat to the Jewish state of Israel. Moreover, there seems to be a growing sense that the only solution to the problems in the West Bank is for Israel to assert full sovereignty. Since June 1967, Israel has asserted full sovereignty over Jerusalem, unifying the city, but not over Judea and Samaria. Rather, it has treated them as occupied, while asserting that sovereignty over this territory is in abeyance, as it's called. It's a legal term meaning that nobody has sovereignty until an agreement is reached. Yesterday, however, all ministers and Knesset members of Netanyahu's own Likud party signed a statement demanding that Israel apply its sovereignty over all of Judea and Samaria. The letter read, "We, ministers and Knesset members, call for the immediate application of Israeli sovereignty and law to Judea and Samaria. The massacre of October 7 proved that the establishment of a Palestinian state in the rest of the territory is an existential danger to Israel. It's time for sovereignty." End quote. Trump also announced this week that Israel has agreed to the terms of a proposal for a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas. It is expected that Qatar and Egypt will present this proposal to Hamas in the coming days. It's, however, hard to imagine that if, as is reported, Israel has agreed to its terms, that the proposal will be acceptable to Hamas, which remains committed to ensuring its survival and thus refuses to accept any deal that allows Israel to continue the war until Hamas is eradicated. So all in all, Trump and Netanyahu will be discussing many complex and interrelated issues when they meet next week in the White House. Issues that will have major implications for peace and stability in the region going forward. So let us pray this week and the coming days for the restoration of peace and stability in the land. Pray for Prime Minister Netanyahu and US President Trump as they meet in the coming days in Washington. Pray for Israel's enemies. We really must pray for them and pray against their plans. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem and for the coming of the Prince of Peace to Jerusalem. Thank you for listening. That's the end of this week's weekly update. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you next week. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend.